This episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast is brought to you by Hose Monster. Rock solid flow testing equipment designed for professionals. The little Hose Monster is made from injection molded glass-filled polypropylene and is made for abuse. Combined with a range of pedalless nozzles, the Hose Monster is an inspector's match made in heaven. Either testing fire hydrants or fire pumps, Hose Monster has the equipment you need to get the job done safely. Visit hosemonster.com for more information on how you can bring your flow testing to the next level.
Like and subscribe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. We're here in Austin, Texas. I'm in the Victaulic booth, as you can obviously see here. It's hard to discern these booths. I'm here with Jonathan Carl. Jonathan just finished up a presentation on the new, on fire protection for cannabis facilities.
Yep.
How'd your presentation go?
It went great. I mean, we had a lot of people in there. I mean, a lot of questions being asked. There's not a lot that's done with cannabis facilities and people knowing what's in NFPA 13.
Right.
It's very vague.
It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago that NFPA announced that they were going to be pushing out this new standard, NFPA 420.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits perfectly. I'm sure some people don't get it, but I'm sure more people do. You guys knew what you were doing, right?
Yeah. I mean, some of us knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
It was a joke. Didn't think it would be taken that way. I mean, kind of put in there. It's like, oh, it'll get rejected.
Yeah.
It doesn't get rejected. So it's like, okay, we'll just roll with it. This is good.
Don't change a damn thing.
We get a lot of questions on it though. People are like, are you being too, over the top with it? Like, is this going to highlight it? People are trying to make cannabis like, oh, hide it and not. No, we want to bring it to the forefront. Are you going to have hiccups here or there? Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah.
But I mean, it brings it to the forefront. And, I want to be part of that standard because it's going to help so much stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because one day when probably marijuana and cannabis is legal throughout, my grandkids are going to be like, hey, Grandpa was on like 420. So there's going to be a lot of different things that come in.
And it is legalized all across Canada.
Yes.
So if you're ever visiting, it is a legal thing in Canada, and it is becoming more at the forefront. I think it is being legalized kind of throughout the states as you go.
Yeah,
right?
And that's where this started with me was in Canada.
Yeah.
I started to do some stuff in Saskatchewan.
That's when you started doing cannabis? Was up in Canada?
It was up in Canada, yeah. I had a lot of design questions from contractors like Troy and Vipond and stuff like that. And hey, you've helped us with other sprinkler stuff. We're doing this, and really code doesn't kind of tell us what to do.
Right.
And they're like, we have a plant, and last week it was 10 foot, and this week it's 15 foot.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, really, it's high-piled storage.
So when it comes to protecting cannabis as a commodity classification, you're not just using the typical, typical agricultural ordinary hazard group 2 and you're protecting it.
No.
What are the differences that make it a different commodity?
So your natural vegetation could be an OH1, could be an OH2. What you really got to look at is when you get these pesticides into there,
right?
They spray the pesticides, and a lot of the pesticides have an oil base to them. Once that oil base goes into there, it becomes a flammable liquid. Now you go into extra hazard group 1.
Right.
Now you get these movable racks. Movable racks really aren't defined. City of Denver defines them as high-piled storage. Depends what's on there. And then your commodities, like one place I went to, cardboard boxes, plants in them. Next week, it's extruded plastic boxes. So it changes, so the fire hazard changes. They're all mashed together. You can't put rack sprinklers. It becomes a big hazard.
So is NFPA 20 a sprinkler design criteria, or is it a building life safety, overall life safety type of code?
Yeah. So we're trying to do a little bit of everything into there. We're trying to do where we can call out the sections in there, like the grow rooms, the mother rooms, where it goes over. Hey, maybe this is an OH2, but you got to look at what they're doing. Maybe this is an extra hazard 1.
Sure.
So putting that into every segment, and then you get really down deep in your extraction rooms, that's where they're really highly flammable.
Okay.
So we're trying to do that, but also put on the backside of it, like your ventilation, your conveyors, a process that's into there, which this may also lead down the road to like an NFPA 421 or 22, which could be for other agricultural stuff that's not picked up right now.
And not necessarily related to cannabis specifically.
Correct.
Yeah. So in your presentation today, your presentation was well received and well attended from what I'm hearing.
Yes.
What kind of conversations were you having? Because I mean, I know you're a talker. I'm obviously a talker doing a podcast. When I present, I like to do kind of more of a round table as opposed to read my slides and kind of get on with it. What kind of dialogue and what kind of conversation were you getting back and forth within the room?
Within the room was really, hey, John, you're right. The racks, they move. What do we do?
Yeah.
Hey, how much flammability are in these solvents? Hey, I just did one. I designed it as OH2. Should I go back and redesign it?
Ooh, how good your errors and emissions insurance.
Yeah, you know, what's your insurance going to say? So,
Right.
hey, fire marshals aren't helping us with this because they don't know what to do. They're kind of hands off. And the other one is, I didn't realize a big one was brought up was people hiding it. They're not saying it, so it looks like an old rundown warehouse. They're putting this in there. They don't want people to know it's there, but it has to have high security. So there's all sorts of stuff that went into NFPA 1 Chapter 38, but it's very vague. Go see 13, go do that. So there's a lot of different stuff that goes on into it.
Yeah,
So-
that is one of the that's one of the big things that in my area, that's what they do, is they have, you know, they take an old abandoned warehouse and all of a sudden you see holes drilled in the side of it and, you know, just flexible ductwork hanging out the side. Well, they're growing weed in there. That's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and all that, like, it's all in there. So when it burns, as a, you know, being a firefighter too, like, you got to worry about that. So, you know, I always make the comment to get a joke, but you're going in there, you get a ripper that's in there, and they go to vent this thing out, and like, is it the engine, the ladder, the rescuer pulling up with a bag of Doritos, like a Doritos truck? Like, you know, this is also very health conscious towards firefighters. We worry about our safety as well, but you know, we're always going through drug tests and all that stuff.
There's still going to be contaminants that are involved in the
Exactly.
fire ground anyways. Yeah, that's there's the video that did go viral there a little while ago of when the grow house was burned and they were interviewing the guy and he was like, yeah, we did a transitional attack from the outside and we tried to not go near it, but I'm pretty sure we inhaled some of the smoke.
Yeah.
And the guy was just lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you make fun of that, but it really is.
We
a
should also
hazard.
note, and that's not what we want to
No,
happen. Right.
no. But no, that's not what we want. But, you know, some byproducts, you know.
Yeah.
It's, but the other side of it is too, like, it is a hazardous material.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So another big thing that a lot of people don't realize is, which isn't governed by code, it's governed by local DEP, and that is you have to capture all that water. So when you put a sprinkler system in there, it is not emergency fire protection water that doesn't have to be captured. Emergency fire protection water is when the fire truck shows up and sprays water. This is an automatic suppression system.
Oh, so it's classified as a completely different type of discharge.
Yeah. So you have to capture all that. So if you have a density of 0.35 over 1,500 and a 60-minute discharge, you're putting a 30,000 gallon capture tank in to capture all that sprinkler water that has THCs in it.
And a lot of these places, I guarantee you, are not doing that.
No, they're just letting it run to the storm sewer, and now you got like high fish.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of challenges with this, and that's what I think we're looking at within 420 group. Is what can we identify? I mean, we have a lot of good people on our committee, from City of Denver Fire Marshals, a lot of people from CASA up in Canada, people from Next Gen Codes, and so we're really trying to develop it, and we mash heads a little bit, which is, as you know, part of code. But we're trying to make something, and I said in my class today, usually when we do a standard, we start down here, and then we figure stuff didn't work, and we get to here. I hate working uphill. I'd rather start here, do the highest. It's easier for me to go downhill and take stuff out. Hey, we haven't seen this type of fires. Okay, let's drop it down to an OH2.
So you said there's a lot of Canadians involved on the 420 Codes and Standards Committee. Is that because of the legalities of it being in Canada now? There's a lot more facilities, so we are kind of I won't say we're on the foreground of this, but we have probably more exposure to it than a lot of places in the US.
And that's why, because of the exposure. You have more experience. What are you guys seeing?
Us Canadians have a lot of exposure.
A lot of exposure to weed. Yeah, so it's, you know, hockey and weed, I mean, it goes together.
We're a friendly bunch, and it's not because we're...
But it truly is, because, you know, we didn't have it in the States, so you guys had the exposure to the ventilation sides of it and all that, where it's different than an NFPA 91. It's all different. So there's just so many things that are going on that we try to pull that experience from you guys.
So obviously it's very difficult to encapsulate an hour-and-a-half presentation into a quick conversation at an expo, but thanks for going through kind of the general specifics of what 427A thanks for admitting that you guys totally did that on purpose and it wasn't just an available code number. And let's talk again soon.
Yep, thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great one.
Cool.
Braun walks right in on it as we're recording a podcast.
The Laying It Down for Camp Bucko fundraiser is still going on. The donations have slowed down, but the hoses have not. This sea can is starting to get filled up. These are the ones I just unloaded from the trailer. Those are the ones that were sitting here since last year. These are all still sitting here from last year. We're looking to get donations rolling in. In addition to those hoses that I just showed you, I still have a picture that I'm going to insert right here of all the fire hoses that are still up in Pickering, Ontario. Thank you to the Toronto Social Housing for donating 95% of these fire hoses, as well as everybody else from Southwestern Ontario and Ontario for donating hoses. But let's get those donations to roll in. The link is posted below. $20 a hose. Let's get some money in. Let's support Camp Bucko. Thanks, guys.